Lagos is a busy, bustling city. It's filled with loud honking cars, crowded markets, and people constantly rushing from one place to another. Amora lived in the heart of this city, and every day, she felt as if the whole world was moving faster than she could keep up. But she didn't mind. She loved it. Amora had big dreams. Dreams of a life where she didn't have to worry about money or struggle for anything. A life where she could wear the latest designer clothes, travel to fancy places, and live in a house so big she'd need a map to find her way around. She saw this perfect life everywhere. On social media, on the faces of celebrities, in the shiny cars that zoomed by on the streets. Look at them. Amora would think as she scrolled through her phone. They have everything. They have the life I want. The messages from all the posts were clear. A man who can't give you money isn't worth your time. Amora believed this with all her heart. She imagined herself with someone who could give her all of this, a man who had everything. In her mind, love and money went hand in hand. She knew that when she found the right man, everything would fall into place. But there was a time, before all the dreams of luxury, when Amora had another chance at love, a chance she didn't realize she would one day regret. It was in the village, far from the lights of Lagos, that Amora first met Emeka. He wasn't rich, not in the way Amora thought she needed someone to be. Emeka worked as a tiling apprentice, spending long, hard hours in the hot sun, laying tiles for people's homes. His hands were rough and calloused, his clothes often covered in dust. He didn't have much, but he had a heart full of kindness. He cared about Amora, always there for her when she needed someone to talk to, always offering help whenever she had a problem. For years, Emeka had been Amora's childhood friend. He was always there, in the background, quietly hoping that one day, Amora would see him for who he truly was. He never asked for much. All he wanted was her love, and maybe, just maybe, the chance to build a future together. One evening, as the sun set and the village grew quiet, Emeka gathered the courage to do something he had been too afraid to do for years. He walked up to Amora, his heart racing, and held out a small, simple ring. It was hand-carved, made with love and care, and it shone brightly under the fading light of day. "Amora," Emeka said, his voice shaking a little, "will you marry me? I don't have much, but I can promise you my heart, my work, and my life." Amora's heart skipped a beat. She had always thought of Emeka as a friend, nothing more. He was kind, he was hardworking, but he didn't have the kind of wealth she dreamed of. She looked at him, at the dust on his clothes and the weariness in his eyes, and for a moment, she felt a pang of guilt. But it didn't last long. She smiled at Emeka, but it wasn't the smile of someone who was about to accept a proposal. It was the smile of someone who already knew what her answer would be. "I'm sorry, Emeka," Amora said softly. "You're a good man, but I need more than what you can offer. I need someone who can give me the life I deserve." With that, Amora walked away, leaving Emeka standing there, his heart shattered. He didn't understand. He had thought that his love and his care were enough. But Amora had made up her mind, and there was nothing he could do to change it. In the days that followed, Emeka's heartache slowly faded, but Amora's world remained focused on something different. She couldn't stop thinking about her dreams, the perfect life she had always imagined. The money, the luxury, the fame, it was all so close now. She couldn't waste time with a man who didn't have those things to offer. "I'll find someone else," Amora thought. "Someone who can give me everything I want." And so, life in Lagos continued for Amora. The busy city was filled with opportunities, and she believed that the perfect man was out there waiting for her. Lagos was a city that never slept. The streets were always busy, filled with people moving at a speed that made Amora feel like she was part of a fast-paced race. She loved the excitement, the noise, the energy of the city. Every morning, as she left her small apartment, she felt as if the world was at her feet. She had big dreams, and those dreams were taking shape. Amora had started spending more time in the high-end parts of Lagos, where the rich and famous lived. She would walk along the busy streets of Lekki, admiring the shiny cars and the luxurious boutiques. She dreamed of one day being able to afford everything in those windows, the designer handbags, the sparkly jewelry, the elegant shoes. One evening, she received an invitation to a village party. It wasn't her usual scene. Amora preferred the fancy events with champagne and designer gowns, but something told her that this night could be different. She was intrigued by the idea of a change, something that might lead her closer to the life she craved. The party was held in a large, beautiful garden with strings of twinkling lights hanging from the trees. People were laughing and dancing, and the smell of delicious food filled the air. Amora felt out of place in her simple dress, but she quickly pushed that feeling away. She was here to find something, someone, and she wouldn't leave until she had what she wanted. That's when she saw him. Chaik. He was standing across the room, surrounded by a group of people. He had a commanding presence, tall, handsome, and confident. His suit was expensive, tailored perfectly to his body. He wore polished shoes that gleamed in the soft glow of the lights, and his watch sparkled like a diamond on his wrist. Amora couldn't take her eyes off him. She had seen men like him in movies, on social media, and in the magazines she used to flip through at the salon. He looked like the kind of man who could give her everything she had ever wanted. His wealth was obvious, but it was more than that. There was something about the way he stood, so sure of himself, so powerful, that drew Amora in. She stood there for a moment, watching him, wondering if this could be the start of the life she had always dreamed of. Chaik, meanwhile, was oblivious to her gaze. He was busy chatting with some friends, laughing at a joke someone had made. But as fate would have it, his eyes landed on her. Their gazes met for the briefest moment, and something sparked between them. Amora quickly looked away, feeling her cheeks turn red. She wasn't sure what had just happened, but it felt important. She felt a flutter in her stomach, and for the first time in a long time, she felt like maybe this was the beginning of something great. The evening passed, and Amora found herself trying to get closer to Chaik. She moved through the crowd, finding ways to position herself near him. Finally, after what felt like hours, she managed to strike up a conversation. "Hi," she said, her voice a little nervous but trying to sound confident. "I'm Amora. I saw you from across the room, and I thought I'd come say hello." Chaik turned towards her, his eyes scanning her for a moment before he smiled. It was a charming, confident smile, the kind of smile that made Amora's heart skip a beat. "Hello, Amora," he replied smoothly. "I'm Chaik. I don't think I've seen you around before. Are you new to Lagos?" Amora smiled back, feeling a sense of connection that was hard to explain. "No, I've been here for a while, just never been to one of these parties." They began to talk, and before long, Amora felt a strange sense of comfort. Chaik wasn't just rich and powerful, he was charming too. He made her laugh with his quick wit and funny stories. He asked her about her life, and she told him about her dreams, the ones of a perfect life filled with luxury and freedom. Chaik listened intently, nodding as if he understood. He didn't judge her for wanting the things she wanted. In fact, he seemed to appreciate her ambition. "You know," Chaik said, "I like your attitude. You're not afraid to go after what you want. I admire that." Amora felt her heart swell with pride. This was the kind of man she had been looking for, a man who appreciated her ambition and wanted to help her achieve her dreams. As the evening went on, Chaik and Amora found themselves talking more and more. He seemed genuinely interested in her life, her thoughts, and her ideas. He asked her about her past, about Emeka, and why she had left the simple life behind. Amora hesitated for a moment but then decided to be honest. "I had a friend once," she said slowly. "He was a good man, hardworking. But he didn't have the things I wanted. He didn't have money. He didn't have the kind of life I dreamed of. So I had to let him go. I knew that I needed more than what he could offer." Chaik listened quietly, and when she finished, he smiled again. "Well, it sounds like you know what you want," he said, his voice low and confident. "And I think I can give that to you. The life you've always dreamed of. All you have to do is trust me." Amora's heart raced. This was it. This was the moment she had been waiting for. Chaik, with all his wealth and power, was offering her the life she had dreamed of. She could already see herself in the glamorous world she had always imagined, designer clothes, luxury vacations, and a man who could give her everything. For the first time, Amora felt as if her dreams were within reach. That night, as Amora lay in bed, she couldn't stop thinking about Chaik and the life he could offer her. She knew that this was the chance she had been waiting for. She could have everything she had ever wanted. All she had to do was make the right choice. And Amora was ready. Ready to say goodbye to the past and embrace the future with Chaik by her side. The days after Amora's first meeting with Chaik were a whirlwind. They spoke on the phone every day, their conversations flowing as if they had known each other for years. Chaik's words were sweet, his promises even sweeter. He told her about the amazing places they would go together, the luxury vacations in Dubai, Paris, and the Maldives. He talked about the beautiful homes they would own, the cars they would drive, and the designer clothes she would wear. Amora felt her heart race with excitement. This was the life she had always dreamed of, and now, it was within her reach. After only a few weeks of dating, Chaik proposed to Amora during a candlelit dinner at one of the fanciest restaurants in Lagos. The table was covered in roses, the soft glow of the candles reflected in the crystal glasses. The ring he gave her was magnificent, sparkling with diamonds that caught the light with every movement. "Marry me," Chaik said, his voice soft but filled with certainty. "I'll give you everything you've ever wanted. The world will be ours to conquer." Amora couldn't believe it. She had imagined this moment in her dreams, but now that it was here, it felt surreal. She was going to marry a man who could give her everything: money, luxury, fame. All the things she had longed for. Without hesitation, she said yes. She couldn't wait to step into this new world, a world of gold and diamonds, of fancy parties and glamorous events. It felt like she was finally getting everything she deserved. The wedding was everything Amora had imagined and more. It was grand, with hundreds of guests, a beautiful venue, and a reception that looked like something straight out of a fairy tale. Amora was the center of attention, her wedding dress sparkling as she walked down the aisle, her heart full of excitement for the life that was about to begin. But as the days passed, Amora began to notice something strange. Despite all the luxury, all the grandeur, something was missing. Chaik, the man who had promised her everything, was not the man she had imagined. At first, it was small things. He was always busy, too busy for her. When they were together, he would check his phone constantly, texting and emailing, hardly ever looking up to engage in conversation. When she tried to talk to him about her day, he seemed distracted, his mind somewhere else. Amora tried to ignore it at first. She told herself that he was just busy with work, that it was normal for successful people to be always on the go. But as the weeks went by, it became clear that Chaik wasn't interested in her the way she had imagined. He would come home late, often without any explanation. When he did come home, he was cold and distant, barely saying a word to her. Sometimes, Amora would try to get his attention, but he would brush her off, telling her that he had too much on his plate to focus on her right now. It hurt. Amora had expected her marriage to be filled with love, care, and affection. But instead, it felt like she was living in a house full of empty promises. She had everything she wanted: luxury, wealth, a beautiful home, but none of it mattered when she felt so alone. There were moments when Amora would look at the beautiful designer clothes hanging in her closet, the sparkling jewelry, the expensive shoes. But it all felt so empty. She thought back to the times when she was with Emeka, the man who had always treated her with respect and care. He had never promised her wealth or luxury, but he had promised her something far more valuable: love. She couldn't help but think about him, about what her life would have been like if she had accepted his proposal. Maybe she would have been happy. Maybe she would have felt truly loved. One evening, as Amora sat alone in their mansion, scrolling through social media, she saw something that made her heart skip a beat. It was a photo of Emeka, smiling proudly in front of a new building, a tiling business he had started in a nearby town. He looked different, stronger, more confident. And for the first time, Amora felt a deep sense of regret. She remembered the love he had given her, the kindness and care he had shown her. She remembered the simple moments they had shared, the walks in the village, the laughter, the way he had always made her feel like she was the most important person in the world. And now, as she sat in her luxury home, she realized that none of the money, none of the gold and diamonds, could replace the warmth of his love. Amora felt trapped. She had everything she had ever wanted, but it didn't feel like enough. She had traded love for luxury, and now, she wasn't sure if it had been the right choice. The more she thought about it, the more she realized that the life she had dreamed of wasn't as perfect as she had imagined. Chaik, with all his wealth and power, was not the man she had hoped he would be. He was distant, cold, and uninterested. And Amora was beginning to wonder if the life she had chased so desperately was truly worth it. She missed Emeka. She missed the simple, honest love he had offered her. He had never promised her wealth, but he had promised her something far more valuable. A life filled with respect, care, and genuine connection. And now, Amora was faced with a painful truth. She had chosen the gold, the diamonds, the fame. But in doing so, she had lost the one thing that truly mattered. Love. As the days passed, Amora found herself questioning everything. Was it too late to go back to the life she had once known? Could she find happiness again? Or was she trapped in a world of wealth and luxury that had never truly fulfilled her? One day, as she walked through the quiet streets of Lagos, she stumbled upon someone she never expected to see again. It was Emeka. Amora's heart skipped a beat when she saw Emeka. He was standing in front of a small shop near the corner of the street, holding a toolbox in his hand. His clothes were simple, but they were clean and neat. His eyes were warm, his smile as genuine as ever. It was as if no time had passed since the last time they had seen each other, but Amora felt like a lifetime had come between them. For a moment, she stood there, frozen. She had never expected to run into him. Not here, not in the busy streets of Lagos. But seeing him again was like a light flickering on in the darkness of her mind. It was like the past had come rushing back in a flood of memories. Memories of love, laughter, and the simple life she had once known. Emeka noticed her standing there, and his face lit up in recognition. He set the toolbox down and walked toward her, his steps confident and strong. As he reached her, he stopped and looked at her with the same warm eyes she remembered from all those years ago. "Amora," he said, his voice soft, but full of surprise and joy. "Is that really you?" Amora found herself speechless for a moment. She had imagined this moment in her mind, but now that it was happening, she didn't know what to say. Her heart was racing, and a wave of emotions washed over her: regret, longing, confusion. She felt both happy and sad to see him again. "Emeka," she finally said, her voice shaking slightly. "I can't believe it's you. I thought I'd never see you again." He smiled, a kind smile that made Amora's heart ache. "I never forgot you, Amora. I've been thinking about you all this time. How are you? How have you been?" Amora felt a lump form in her throat. The last time she had seen Emeka, she had walked away from him, choosing a life of luxury over the love he had offered her. But now, standing in front of him, all the walls she had built around herself seemed to crumble. I've been good," Amora replied, forcing a smile. But even as the words left her lips, she knew they weren't true. She hadn't been good. She had everything she thought she wanted, but it had never felt like enough. "I see," Emeka said, his eyes searching hers as if he could see the truth behind her words. "You look well, but there's something different about you. Something's not right, Amora." Amora felt a pang in her chest. She wanted to tell him everything, the emptiness she had felt in her marriage to Chaik, the loneliness that had crept in despite the wealth and luxury surrounding her. But she didn't know where to start. "I don't know what's wrong," she said quietly. "I thought I had everything I wanted. I thought money, luxury, a man who could give me everything I dreamed of would make me happy. But now I don't know if I'm happy at all." Emeka looked at her with understanding in his eyes, his expression soft and compassionate. "I can see that," he said gently. "I always knew that the things you were chasing wouldn't bring you the happiness you were looking for. True happiness, Amora, comes from within. It comes from love, from being with the people who care about you, not from the things you can buy." Amora felt tears well up in her eyes. She had been so focused on the material world, so consumed by the idea of wealth and status, that she had forgotten what really mattered. She had lost sight of love, of connection, of the simple things that had once made her feel whole. "Emeka, I made a mistake," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I thought I needed all those things to be happy, but now I see that what I really needed was you." Emeka didn't say anything at first. Instead, he reached out and gently placed a hand on her shoulder, as if offering her a sense of comfort that words could not provide. "Amora," he said softly, "I never stopped loving you. But I also had to learn to love myself. I had to learn that happiness doesn't come from the things you have, but from the person you are and the love you give to others." Amora nodded, wiping away a tear. She had hurt Emeka, and yet, here he was, standing before her with the same kindness and love in his eyes. It was as if no time had passed, as if everything between them was still the same. "I've missed you," Amora admitted, her voice trembling. "I've missed the way you made me feel, like I mattered, like I was enough. I chased the wrong things, Emeka. I thought wealth would make me happy, but it didn't. It just made me feel empty inside." Emeka smiled gently, his eyes soft. "You're not the only one who's learned something the hard way, Amora. We all make mistakes. But it's never too late to start over. You don't have to chase after things that will never make you happy. You just have to look around, see what's already there, and appreciate it for what it is." Amora looked around, her gaze falling on the simple shop where Emeka had been working. It wasn't a mansion, it wasn't a luxurious high-rise, but it was real. It was honest. It was the kind of life that Amora had once walked away from, thinking it wasn't enough. But now, standing in front of Emeka, she saw the truth. Wealth and luxury could never replace the love and respect that he had always given her. "I don't want to make the same mistake again," Amora said, her voice filled with determination. "I want to be with you, Emeka. I want to start over, to build something real, something that matters." Emeka's smile grew wider, and for the first time in years, Amora felt a weight lift from her shoulders. She had found her way back to the love she had once left behind. She had realized that happiness wasn't found in the things you owned, but in the people you cared about. As they stood there, looking at each other, Amora knew that her journey was far from over. But for the first time in a long time, she felt hopeful. She had made a mistake, but she had learned from it. And now, she was ready to embrace the life she had once left behind, the life of love, simplicity, and genuine connection. Together, Amora and Emeka walked away from the past, ready to start anew. And for the first time, Amora understood that the true wealth in life wasn't found in material things, but in the people who loved you and the love you gave in return. I guess you enjoyed the story. Please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share your thoughts too, 'cause we love reading them.